the competition aspect that people face, and the common complaints that people have, the entrepreneurs that we've spoken to, is there's lack of talent in India. And what they're really saying is they're not ready to pay top dollar for top talent. And tell us a little bit about how you think about scaling up compensation.
Yeah. Well, and to frame that, we really see compensation as pricing inside. And it's as tricky because you're dealing with people again, right? You price to people and you set compensation with people, and they're not logical, they're psychological. And so there's a lot of psychology that has to go around to setting up the compensation systems. And we really rooted our 5 design principles. It comes from over, my 40 years of working with leaders of growth companies and seeing what works and doesn't. And my co-author, Dr. Sebastian Ross, in his background as well, and working with many of the companies where we're able to really prove out these ideas in real firms. It starts with the fact that 2 things. One, everybody thinks compensation is this private conversation between the employer and the employee. Yet, what you've got to realize, there's 2 other really important relationships involved in this decision. And that is the other coworkers, because that's one of the problems. As you scale up, you just start piecing together deals. I cut a deal with this one person, I cut another deal. This one comes in, says, I'm going to leave. So you cut another deal with them. And before long, you've got this mismatched mess. And employees do talk. And if there's no way that if your compensation scheme was printed on the front page of the local business newspaper, could you justify it? So you have to realize those other 2 in the relationship are the other employees, and probably equally important, the customer. At the end of the day, if your compensation system isn't reinforcing what it is that the customer most values that you provide, then you're going to end up with kind of a conflict. The second is, we know that compensation is only one piece of all of the other levers that you can pull in your culture. And so generally, you just want to get it right and out of sight. You want to be able to just kind of take it off the table so it's not creating a lot of drama in the organization, so you can get on with the other cultural things that allow you to attract and retain talent. And like pricing, the first design principle is you've got to be different. I love the fact that you said at the essence of strategy is you've got to be different. And that's Michael Porter again at Harvard. So if you're pricing the same way as all your competition, you're not different. And if you're compensating in roughly the same way everybody else in your industry is compensating, then you're not different. And so you've got to bring the same kind of strategic fit so that your compensation aligns with both what the customer wants, what the other employees want, and that it makes you unique. So let me just give you an example that I think will highlight that. I'll take you down to Brisbane, Australia, to a company called Mini Movers. It's not Facebook, it's not Google. They move people's furniture. And by the way, attracting and retaining that kind of talent is difficult for all companies. So here's what Michael Hagan did. He said, let's first of all start with the customer. What are the 2 things the customer most wants? Well, the second is just get my move on time. But the number 1 thing is just don't break anything. I don't want to see a scratch on any of the things that you're moving. Now, how does the industry typically handle that? Well, they have insurance. So if something's damaged, the insurance company pays for it, and it represents about 3% of revenue. And Mike's thinking, why am I paying that money to the insurance company? Why don't I pay that to my people? So what he did, he kind of gamified it. He said, look, each move, I'm going to take 3% of the revenue of that move. And the team that executes the move, if there's any damage, it's going to come out of that pool of money. But if there's anything left, you don't do any damage at all, I'm going to share that with the team, which, by the way, represented about an extra $1,000 Aussie dollars a quarter, 4,000 a year. And so, and then way before the customer is going to get upset, it's going to be the fellow movers. Employees are going to say, look, we got to support each other. We got to train each other. We got to help each other, make sure that we don't do any damage, because this is really, affecting all of our pocketbooks. And so look what it does. First, it gets all the teammates aligned and supporting each other. And by the way, they're going to be the first to say, hey, I think we hired an idiot here and we need to get them out of the company. You don't have to fire them as the boss. And way before the customer gets upset, they're going to get upset with each other. Number two, it delivers what the customer wants, which is no breakage. And by sharing what he was spending on insurance with the team, he's actually able to pay his people more than everybody else in the industry, which provides a way for him to attract and retain that talent. So alignment with culture, alignment with what the customer wants, it creates team alignment, and he's got higher paid people, all with just making this kind of simple change to his compensation approach.